The oldest and the wittiest and the gossip in New York City is insidious and Alexander was penniless. Oh, but that doesn't mean I want him any less. Get it? I'm wrapping up! Hey everybody, welcome to my June wrap up. So I'm going to be talking about the books that I read during the month of June and going into a little bit about what I thought about each book that I did read. So altogether I read 8 books this month, which for me is a good amount of books. I also did one readathon, and in that readathon, which was the Readorama readathon, I read 4 of the 8 books. So I did review the books that I read during that readathon in my readathon wrap-up video. So if you want to see that video, I'll link that down below. You can watch it. But I will be going into a little bit into all the books I did read this month. So I want to first talk a little bit about the ratings that I gave to my books and like the dispersion of those stars. So I gave one book a 1 star, I gave 2 books a 2 star, 2 books a 3 star rating, 1 book a 4 star rating, and I gave 2 books this month a 5 star rating. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of going chronologically through the month, I'm going to give you the summary of the books that I read in order of my ranking. So appropriately, I'm starting out with the lowest rated book of the month, and I did discuss this in my readathon wrap up, but it is Invisible Monsters by Chuck Palahniuk. I gave this a 1.5 star rating, but I did reduce it to a 1 star on Goodreads just for the sake of keeping it a whole star, because they don't let you do half star ratings, and I do a lot of half star ratings, as you'll see. So yeah, 1.5 stars. I talked about this. I loved Chuck Palahniuk when I was in college. I was just discovering adult literature. So to read an author who was very shocking and provocative and controversial and graphic and gory and kind of disgusting at times, and really pushing those boundaries, I was really into, because I was, right out of high school and I had never read anything more complicated than a classic or Harry Potter. So for the time frame that I was age-wise, this is a good kind of writing for me. Now, I can't read Chuck Palahniuk. I mean, this book is way too stream of consciousness, way too egotistical, unfocused. I could not follow it, unrealistic. And there was moments of like shocking moments, sex and gross outs and graphic writing and stuff that happened just for the sake of it. There was nothing that contributed to the plot or contributed to character development. All the characters are super flat, one-dimensional. And yeah, I really didn't enjoy it. So unfortunately, that was only a 1.5 star for me. All right, the next highest rating I gave this month was Into the Wild by Jon Krakauer, and this I gave 2 out of 5 stars. And once again, I talked about this in my wrap-up video. The thing is, I really like the premise of this book. For those of you who don't know, it was made into a film. It's about a young man who gets rid of all of his belongings, sells all of his belongings, burns his wallet, gets rid of all of his stuff, breaks contact with anybody, goes to live in the wild in Alaska, and he ends up dying a couple months later, and he's found, and it's basically the story of him, but it's very journal article, magazine article. It doesn't. I wish that they focused on his story specifically, and really wrote the whole book about the months that he was in the wild. I know that no one was with him. They were limited to what they found in his journal, but they couldn't just invent stuff for the sake of forwarding a plot like I'm sure they did in the film. But it was just too dry, which was really unfortunate because I was really looking forward to reading this. So that was a bummer for me. But the good thing about this book is that I think it is going to prompt me to watch the movie, which I have not done. But having read this and knowing what I would want to see from a film, that is something that I want to do here pretty soon. The next book that I have to talk to you about, I don't have a copy of it because I borrowed it from a friend of mine at work, and then I returned it to her without, I could have just told her to let me have it for another day, but I just totally forgot to, and that is Girl Interrupted by Susanna Kaysen, and this was a 2.5 out of 5 star book for me. Those of you may know that it was turned into a movie starring Angelina Jolie and Winona Ryder. It tells about a young 18-year-old girl who goes into a psychiatric hospital on a voluntary basis, and she lives there for 2 years, and it's the story of her in the hospital. And unfortunately, I think I suffered really badly from a case of I love the movie too much, because when I read the book, now after seeing the movie many times and loving it, it just does not meet up. And I know that the book came first, but the book was super short, and almost every scene that was in the movie was not in the book. And so I kind of thought that was lacking. And the truth is, the book, there was not much that really even happened. They talked a little bit about, when she got into the hospital and a little bit of her life after. But really, all the in-between pages were just sort of character summaries of the girls that she knew. And there wasn't a whole lot of plot. And for her being in the hospital for almost 2 years, it didn't seem like anything really happened. I mean, the book was pretty simple, straightforward, and then there would be chapters where it was just stream of consciousness, thoughts, and I mean, she had a really good perspective, and it was cool to read a book from the perspective of someone with borderline personality disorder, because with what my job is, I see borderline personality a lot, so it's kind of cool to see that perspective from a book, because the author, it's autobiographical, she has BPD, and she has what seems like a good amount of intelligence, a good amount of awareness and knowledge into her disorder, and what that means for her. So that was kind of cool. So I did give it 2.5 stars because I liked that aspect of it, but I wish that there was just more. I wish there was just more. All right, so the next heist book that I want to talk to you about this month is The Raven Boys from Maggie Stiefvater, and I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. And I've got to say, so much hype, so much hype about this book, and I was so excited to read it, and I just gave it a 3.5. I mean, for me, a 3.5 means it was a good book, it was fine, nothing was really wrong with it, but it wasn't like a book for me that I would instantly want to reread. I may read it again in the future, but ultimately it was okay. I will say that one of the highlights of this book is her writing. Stiefvater has this ability to really write beautifully, and she is really able to capture different characters. There are 5 main characters in the book, and they all seem pretty distinct, and she didn't feel the need, it appears, to just draw from stereotypes. So many YA novels are just flat characters, static characters. Let's just throw a couple characteristics into a hat and pull them out of the hat, and that's my character. And they don't seem right, they don't seem real. Everyone in this book really seems real and really seems genuine. The drawbacks of this book, and this may be something that would fix itself with as I progress in the series, as I just begin to understand the world a little bit better. But so much talk of energy and the ley lines and Welsh kings and all this European mythology, and it kind of lost me a little bit in that. I feel like maybe if I invest another read into the book and maybe go ahead and read the second or third book, or just move on in the series, it'll kind of be more clear to me. But it just seemed kind of hard for me to grasp during this first read. And also, I feel like the big twist moments in this book were supposed to be surprises, but I feel like I kind of saw all of them coming, except one. But I don't want to spoil anything in the book. One of the twists I didn't see coming, but I think a good amount of the other ones I kind of suspected already. But I don't know how much of that you were supposed to already see as a reader or not. So it's kind of, I don't know, I wish it was a little more clear to me what I should have already known as a reader and what I should be figuring out as they went along and what should have been a surprise. But ultimately, I feel like I will eventually go on and read the next book. I don't know when that's going to be. It's not like the top of my list that I want to read. But hopefully in the next couple of months, I will pick up the second one. The second book this month that I gave a 3.5 star out of 5 was The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. Once again, I did discuss this in my wrap-up video for the readathon. It's a story of a young girl, 14 years old, I believe, Lily, who, as a child, she unintentionally causes the death of her mom and is raised by her dad, who's pretty abusive. And something happens when she's 14 that she and their housekeeper, nanny, around the house, I'm not really sure what she's considered. She's like the nanny or the maid. They run away, and they go and live with some sisters who run a beekeepery. That's not what they're called. They're called something else, but they keep bees. And so it's the story of her few months there until they figure out where to go from there. So basically, This is also a totally fine book. I think that it was a little too quiet for me. I mean, it's just not my kind of book. I kind of want a book that has a little bit more action, a little bit more thrill to it. But in itself, this is a totally fine book. I think I even remember writing in my Goodreads that this would be a really good book for moms and daughters to read together. It has a lot of really important themes. It really addresses race because this does take place in the 60s, 1964. So it does have a lot to do with the themes of race. A lot of the characters are African American, and Lily is white and her father is white. So there's a lot of that like natural conflict there, considering the time. But I think it handles it really well. It's not overwhelming and it's not scary. I think a young like preteen could definitely read this book, and it's not like kind of very scary with those themes because it was a pretty tumultuous time back then. So I think that it would be really good for a lot of ages. And I mean, ultimately, it was a fine book. At the very end, I wish that it wasn't so neat. It tied up very neatly and very quickly, and I think that maybe it wouldn't have realistically been that neat and tidy. If that makes sense. I like my books to be full of chaos. What do you say? Alrighty, so now we're getting into the really good books this month. I read Big Little Lies, and I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. And this is written by Liane Moriarty, and I will say that I was very, very surprised that I liked this book so much. It was not the best written book out there, that I will say. I was reading the first couple of pages, and I was already kind of groaning a little bit at the style. And quickly jumps right into like this mommy wars scenario. It's about like a semester at over the course of like a kindergarten, and then the moms that are the parents of the kids in the kindergarten. And basically, from the very beginning, you can tell that something really big happened on like this trivia night that's like 6 months away, and so we are constantly alluding to this event, and we're moving forward in time, counting down until we get to this trivia night and discover what really happens. So that is the premise of the book. This is almost a 500-page book. I read through it very, very fast. It did not read like a 500-page book. Like this read like a 300-page book to me. It didn't feel like there was all these pages that could be cut out. I wasn't groaning about how this needed to be edited. For usually big 500-page books, I'm already thinking to myself, that could have been cut out. I don't need that chapter. I don't need that. I don't need that. But I really think that everything in this book was vital to the storyline, that's great. I love that. I don't want to read pages and pages that I don't think need to be in a book at all. But the good thing about this is you're following multiple characters, and the chapters are very short, and each chapter is like, person's perspective, and basically, in a way, everyone ends up, their storylines kind of all end up meeting near the end, and it all kind of makes sense. And there's a couple of things that, as a reader, you're trying to figure out, and you're giving clues along the way. But I will say, the big twist at the end of the book, I don't know why I didn't see it coming, but I didn't see it coming. And so instantly, that for me, you get like an extra star at least, because I think I'm pretty okay at having books, spoiling a book for myself because I figured out before it gets there that it's kind of like a downer when I get there. I did not see the end of this book coming. There was one thing that I would have liked to see a little differently about this, but it'll spoil it. So if you've already read it and you want to check out my Goodreads, I will link that down below. It's in my description bar. If you want to read my review on this book, remove any of the spoilers that are in the review, you will see what I would like to have changed about that. But yeah, pretty solid 4.5 book. Yeah. Alrighty, so the first 5-star book that I gave this month was Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, and this was something that I read in my Read-A-Rama. So once again, down below, link more details on my opinions on it. But this book, I think the best part of this book was the language and the writing. Stellar, gorgeous, beautiful, top-notch. This book is about, a flu that decimates the population across the world, and society has to just sort of pick up the pieces, decide how they're going to move on, if they're going to move on. And it follows several characters, and it spans I think 30 years total. I think the earliest scene, it takes place about 10 years before the flu outbreak, and then the last scene is as late as 15 years post outbreak. So you're dipping between all these different timelines, following these different characters. Everyone sort of merges in the end, and it all kind of makes everyone kind of their lives all kind of intertwine, even though we're talking about different time frames. And I don't know. I just think it's really beautiful. I think it's hard to describe this book because it really is just about society rebuilding itself. It's very much like The Stand, if you've ever read The Stand, but significantly shorter. It's actually only a 330 page book. It's pretty quick. And I mean, there's not much else to say. It's really beautiful. And if you like a book that is dramatic and suspenseful, gorgeous, and thoughtful, and compelling. I mean, I know these are all kind of just like reviewer words, but they're all true. I think another thing that's worth saying about this book is I think it succeeded in not being an info dump book. It's because the themes are all pretty heavy, right? Destruction of mankind, flu, history, all these characters, time frames, and like, you know, rebuilding, and even has like elements of art and music because it follows this traveling symphony that travels along these decimated remains, performing Shakespeare for the people. It was able to deliver all that without just inundating you with info and blocks of text that's dry and bland and oh my god, when's it gonna end? It didn't do that at all. So that was one of the best books I've read, not just this month, but all year. And finally, the last book of the month that I read that was also a 5-star book, and probably maybe my favorite book of the month altogether, which was House of Sand and Fog by Andre Dubus III. I think that's how I'm pronouncing his name. I think that's right. Oh my god. So this also was a film. I've never seen this movie, but I will be seeking this film out and watching it. I was so surprised by this book. I found it at the thrift store for $1, and I just picked it up because I knew that I've heard the name, and the cover kind of looks like my jam. It's kind of like dark and foreboding, and I was like, cool. I read on the back, some reviewer wrote that it's some sort of thriller, so okay, done. I'm so happy that I bought this. So I didn't know anything about it going into it. I just read it completely blank. It's about a woman who owns a house, and through like a screw up in her town's tax office, they end up repossessing her home and auctioning it off. And this gentleman who is Iranian, he brought his family over to live in the United States. He ends up buying the house for like really cheap, for cash, and they move in. And basically the premise is Kathy, who's the main character, she wants her house back, and the family that lives in the house now are, you know, they're arguing, well, we own this house now because we bought it fair and square with cash. Like, take it up with the tax office. That's their blood or not ours. So that is kind of where the main tension is. The writing is, I think, beautiful. It is subtle and dark and heavy, and it carried me through. I kept turning the pages, like dying to know what was going to happen. There's so much tension from every single angle. There's the tension of the two parties fighting over the house. There's the tension of our main character, Kathy, who is a recovering alcoholic, and the threats of relapse. And then she meets this man named Lester who further threatens her relapse, and then he gets involved in the house. And I mean, it really ends up building and building and building, and it culminates in this massive finale. I mean, like, reading this, if I didn't know that it was already a film, I would say this needs to be a film. It just feels like how a movie unravels. And another thing for characterization, I think he wrote the book from 3 distinct perspectives. Kathy, who was the original owner of the house, Colonel Berani, which is the man who bought the house and moved his family in, and Lester, who is he's a police officer, I'm not sure, he's a sheriff. So, And he wrote these perspectives so distinctly that if I was to read a chapter from somebody and it would go a page or so without naming names or you know, referring to members of their family, just like sentence structure alone and how they're viewing their world, I could easily tell you who he was writing from, because he had this distinct, like masterful ability to write these people. And I had to look up this author after I was done reading, because I could have sworn he was Iranian or had some sort of history with like background with the Iranian language. I forgive my ignorance if that's not correct, if I'm like screwing something up, because I don't know a lot about Iran. But his ability to capture this kernel and you know, inject, you know, just information about their culture, and even, you know, use the language in his daily speech with his wife and his son. As far as I know, this author has nothing to do with Iran. So he was able to really like research, just write this character like I would never have guessed someone could if they were just a guy that just liked to write and didn't know anything about like that culture. And so yeah, that is probably the best book that I've read this month. So we'll be finding that movie ASAP. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. I'm glad that I didn't read more than 8 books, because I don't know how long this video would be if I read 15 books in a month. Let's hope that never happens. So, okay, that's it. Let me know if you guys have read any of these books, what your thoughts are. Yeah, question of the video. If you have seen any of these films, House of Sand and Fog, let's see, Into the Wild, Secret Life of Bees. Let me know which films you've seen, which one you would recommend me starting with, and what your thoughts are. All right, I'm gonna go. Thanks so much, guys. Bye!